This is a special announcement for our YouTube viewers. You may notice that the Discord icon is stuck with me constantly talking and Santos not talking. This is due to my Streamlabs just lying to me, straight up lying. It told me that it only missed 26% of the frames that we recorded, which we thought would be fine, but we didn't check the video and realized that it was recording only one frame. So we apologize that you don't get updated Discord icons, but at least you get a good episode. So yeah, just enjoy. Sorry. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of the Mildly Interesting Podcast. In this episode, we'll talk about the mega tropical storm hitting the Philippines, the Zika outbreak that could lead to mutations to cause a worldwide pandemic, and the UK's very controversial new asylum plan. If you like what we do here, of course, give us a follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and keep updated with our website. Follow us on social media, Instagram, and Twitter. But without further ado, I am Akash Lush,
And I'm Joe Sant.
and this is Mildly Interesting.
Mildly interesting. No, seriously, just mildly interesting.
This is actually the first episode that I am recording while on holiday. I have come back home to
Hooray.
Nepal. Yay! I've come back home to Nepal to see my family after a long time, but that doesn't stop the grind. If you hear any audio differences or if you hear the neighbor's dog barking, no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
That's a lie.
But
It's psychological.
what's not a lie is the new superstorm that's currently hitting the Philippines. Tropical storm Meggy, through landslides and floods, has killed 167, with 110 more missing and 1.9 million being adversely affected. Villages around the Bay city in the central Leyton province were badly hit, with hillside avalanches and overflowing rivers. In one village, Pilar, about 80% of the houses were washed out to sea. This storm, locally known as Agaton, has had many people fled their homes to shelters or higher ground and has shown winds of up to 65 kilometers per hour, which is 40 miles per hour. Pictures posted by the Philippines Coast Guard shows rescuers carrying the injured on stretchers, chest-high water, and ferrying survivors on rafts down flooded streets. It was the first such storm of the year, with the Philippines typically seeing an average of 20 of these storms each year. In fact, it comes about 4 months after Super Typhoon Rai devastated many of the nation's southeast islands in December, killing at least 375 people and affecting 500,000. The Super Typhoon Rai was the worst storm to hit the Philippines last year, and experts said it had grown stronger and far quicker than anticipated. And some researchers are saying the same about this storm, which was why some villages were so ill prepared when it hit. Santos, why have these tropical storms, although we know that they're coming, why have they become more harsh and less predictable over the years?
Yeah, I just want to say before I answer your question, I just want to say that I will forever be mesmerized by the names that storms are given. If you if you hear about Storm Maggie, you're not running. Like you said, the Philippines is no stranger to extreme weather events. What's really surprising here is that this is supposed to be the dry season in the Philippines. You're not supposed to see these weather events at this time of year. So a lot of researchers and scientists have linked the increased intensity an increased rate of these extreme weather events to climate change. And in fact, it's the Philippines has been experiencing some of its most deadly extreme weather events since 2006. See, I feel like we just keep coming back to climate change in these podcasts. I feel like it really bothers me how this can just keep happening without anyone just even batting an eye at it. You know, some stuff like this happens, and then you send help from across the globe to, you know, help rescue the survivors and help bury the dead, but that's really all you do. So yeah, we just keep coming back to climate change, is what I mean, and it's I feel like it's something that is here to stay as an issue that won't get solved anytime.
Marissa Miguel Cano, a public information officer in Bebe, told us that it's supposed to be the dry season, but maybe climate change has upended that. And Santos is right. It always comes back to climate change. I think one of our first pieces was on COP26, and we both frustratingly keep referring to it because what has it done? And it is really sad because climate change sadly disproportionately affects those who contribute less to it. Out of the global total of nearly 49,000 megatons of CO2, or greenhouse gas equivalents, produced in 2018, the Philippines only produced about 234. However, it is listed as one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. Alongside Pakistan and Haiti, the Philippines are recurrently affected by catastrophes and continuously ranks among the most affected countries, both in the long-term index and in the index for the respective year, according to the Global Climate Risk Index. This isn't a Philippine-specific issue. They are the most vulnerable to it, but we've seen events like Tropical Storm Maggie all across the globe, and these climate disasters recurring, keep happening. Despite, but COP26 was really just, as all COPs are, an acknowledgement that this is a problem and we have to do something about it. But obviously, just acknowledging it isn't going to change it. According to the Global Climate Risk Index, between 2000 and 2019, over 475,000 people lost their lives as a direct result due to more than 1,000 extreme weather events globally. And the losses that these extreme weather events incurred was about 2.56 trillion US dollars. And recent science suggests that the number of severe tropical cyclones will increase with every 10th of a degree in global average temperature rise. So we're not talking like if we go up 1 degree Celsius globally, we'll have more tropical cyclones. No, every 0.1 degree Celsius, we're going to see more extreme weather events. It's really a question of what can we do or what are others doing. Santos, what do you think about the issue?
I mean, like I said, I feel like we're just becoming climate activists at this point in this podcast. You can't just keep having conferences every now and then that never amount to much. I've stressed this in previous episodes, and I will continue to stress it. We need oversight in the measures that are promised at these conferences. We need a body that says either you do it or you get punished. That's what we need. The problem is no country, apart from those that are getting hit the most, wants to do that. Because most countries have an insane amount of GDP coming from natural resources such as oil and coal. But hopefully, with the Ukrainian crisis going on at the moment and the move away from Russian oil and gas, we might see a change, with a big question mark at the end of that phrase. Because for now, at least, it's just a matter of sourcing oil and gas from somewhere else. But hopefully, with Russia being taken out of the world system, of the economic world system as it is being done, it paves the way for a more economically and climate-driven economy. But like I said, I'm not very hopeful for that, at least in the near future. And it really is a fight for every 0.1 of a degree at this point, and it's scary.
Talking about ignorance towards our impending doom by climate change, we pick out our favorite ignorant people from the past 7 days. It's back to one of our favorite segments, Idiot of the Week. Santos, who is your idiot of this week?
You might know this story already. This is quite a famous story, but I just love it too much I just love it too much to miss it. So this is a story of Clement Vallandigham, or something of the sort. If I butchered his name, well, he's not alive anymore to sue me for it, so it's fine. Clement,
That's right, yeah. Okay.
Clement was, amongst other things, a great lawyer. In fact, some say he's probably the best lawyer that has ever lived. But he's dead now. Do you want to know how he died?
How did he die?
So he was representing this guy called Thomas McGeehan, who had been in a murder case charged with killing a man in a brawl. Clement, being the good lawyer that he is, wanted to prove his client's innocence and prove that the victim actually shot himself while taking his gun out of his holster. So,
Right.
to do that, Clement picked a gun that was believed to be used in the altercation and reenacted the scene. So he drew the gun from his pocket while getting up from a kneeling position and just shot himself.
Oh my god.
So he died in the next day, although, to be fair to him, he put on such a good defense that Thomas was acquitted on all charges.
the best lawyer till the end. Oh.
I just love this story so much. I can actually see this happening in a court, and I hope there's a movie about it already, because if there isn't, there has to be one, right?
Best lawyer that's ever lawyered in this town.
Anyway, Akash, what about you? What's your idiot of the week this time?
So my idiot of the week is a institution.
Okay.
So I have this link open, right? It's a news article. This relates to one of our stories we're going to talk about later. But I found this in my research and I just couldn't not mention it. So, Priti Patel, the head of the Home Office Department in the UK, considered wave machines to stop migrants crossing the English Channel. So, migrants crossing from France to England via the English Channel has been a source of contention for the UK. It's a dangerous way for human traffickers to smuggle people in sort of rickety boats across the English Channel. So the UK has for years tried to come up with solutions as to how to deter this. There have been ideas such as linking up boats to create a barricade, creating obstacles, or sort of buoys, buoys fitted with sensors, so as to detect oncoming migrant boats and raise the alarm. However, one of the ideas suggested was putting a wave machine in the English Channel and creating artificial waves to simply just push back the refugees and asylum seekers. We don't have enough time to explain how dumb that is. But just, they wanted to... Priti Patel's home department wanted to just reverse the English Channel? They wanted to just... I don't even know. I don't know. There's a million reasons this wouldn't work.
You have a problem? Well, just throw water at it. Drown it.
Send them back. Just...
when in doubt, kick them out. That should be their slogan.
They are trying to deal with a very sensitive situation where these people fleeing for their lives are crossing dangerous waters to get to UK territory. They need to somehow find a way to make sure that vulnerable people aren't exploited and put in danger. So they rented the machine from a local water park and thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Just push them back. We'll put the wave. Like, where were you gonna put the wave machine? How was that? How is that in any way gonna be you? Like, what do you think was? It's the ocean. What do you think it was gonna happen?
I love Preeti
Oh.
Patel, man. She is the source of many of our podcasts. Not for good reasons, but you gotta respect the grind.
Going on from people who we consider to have maybe smaller than average brains, we are going to talk about the Zika virus. Now, the Zika virus may seem like old news. There was a significant outbreak in Brazil in 2015, and there were a few dozen cases in the Indian city of Kanpur in November last year. However, scientists say that the Zika virus is a mutation away from being more infectious, more harmful. Currently, there is no vaccine for the Zika virus, but symptoms often don't develop or are mild, such as a fever, rash, and conjunctivitis, which is just the inflammation or infection of the transparent membrane that lines like your eyelids and eyeballs. However, when a pregnant woman is infected with the Zika virus, it can cause birth defects such as microcephaly, where a child is born with a small head and often a smaller brain. In extreme rare cases, it can even affect the nervous system. Now, me describing this has immediately sent alarm bells through everyone's heads, as we have just described a disease that is about to mutate and become more infectious, is mostly asymptomatic, but can be very harmful to specific vulnerable people.
We have to say that it's just hypothetical at this point.
Oh, yes, yeah.
There is no hard evidence to suggest that this will happen. There's evidence to say that it might happen, but none that say that it will happen. But enlighten me, Akash. How did they find out about this possibility?
So, scientists in California mimicked how it could mutate in humans by switching the virus back and forth between mosquito and mouse cells. They found that the Zika's virulence, its ability to cause disease and damage, increased as a result. The Zika virus is spread by the Aedes mosquito, or the AIDS. I'm just gonna call it Aedes mosquito. It can spread the Zika virus, but it can also spread dengue fever. But those who have contracted dengue fever have temporarily gained immunity against Zika. So scientists then, what they did, they transferred the Zika virus between cells that were exposed to dengue and cells that weren't exposed to dengue. They found that the mutant strain of Zika developed in both cells. So even if you were infected with dengue, this new strain of Zika could still potentially infect you. The scientists then tested it on pregnant mice, and lo and behold, they found it was more virulent and with markedly increased fetal resorption, suggesting a greater chance of birth defects should the virus mutate in the real world. Now, like Santos said, this is all still theoretical. These are studies based on mice. So there is no need to panic. Please leave the toilet paper alone. This study is simply just a cautionary study. It was published to the Cells Report journal and said that screening for changes to Zika could help early identification of any new mutation and avoid a potentially damaging outbreak. That's it.
I don't think that we have any major reasons to be worried. Then again, we didn't have much of a reason for COVID either, and here we are, right? Regardless, the only thing that frightens me really is that even if there were an outbreak, however small it may be, we have seen just how badly health services across the world handled the pandemic, coming close to crashing multiple times. So, in a world that is just now recovering from COVID, can we even handle another virus spreading. Whether it's the Zika virus or any other health scare, can we handle it? Is my question. And I'm not entirely sure about it. What do you think?
If we're talking about a pandemic caused by the Zika virus, I feel like it's going to be a lot different from COVID. Let's say it gets to COVID levels where the Zika virus sort of spreads wide. And that is potentially a possibility, as the Aedes mosquitoes, even though it's only mostly found in tropical, subtropical, and temperate regions, such populations have been found to exist even in parts of North America, such as Washington, D.C., and genetic evidence suggests that they survived at least the last 4 winters in that region. So, it is a possibility that could spread, but it would be a very different ball game, as in the vulnerable people wouldn't necessarily be the elderly or the immunocompromised. It would be those that are expecting mothers, those that are the pregnant population, essentially. I believe our health services would be better equipped at shielding those and screening for the Zika virus, because it's less transmissible than COVID.
Yeah, but it is also transmissible through sexual encounters, though.
Yes, sexual encounters and blood transfusion.
Like, the immunocompromised would still be well compromised just because their immune system is not capable of handling mild symptoms, for instance. So they would still be very much at risk. I think I agree with you in the sense that we might be better prepared to handle the Zika virus than we were to handle COVID, but I don't think we're that prepared, if I'm honest with you.
No, and I think that's why this paper has come out, because it's seen the early warning signs of what can possibly be an outbreak, and so it's raised the issue of, hey, we have a head start. This is the head start on, like, the next medical emergency. We can do better here than what we did before.
Right, so now we move on to yet another segment that we hold dear to our hearts in this podcast, and that's the dumb questions no one asks but us. So, Akash, start us off. What's your dumb question?
There seems to be a theme this episode, and I didn't do this on purpose. This was just the first dumb question that entered my mind. But with climate change, yeah, we're all worried because the ice caps are melting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh no, the polar bears are gonna lose their homes. Oh no. Now, I find it hard to relate to this story because, one, what if that polar bear's a dickhead, right? Like, he doesn't. that's not the stupid question I have. But, like, what if, like, he's a dick? Like, you know, I can't really empathize with him. But two, and this is my stupid question: why don't we just make more ice? Like, I can do it. You can do it. Like, I have ice cubes in my freezer. Like, it's pretty simple. You just put water in the frozen, and then it gets freezes. So, like, the ice caps are melting, right? So that's more water in the ocean. So why don't we just take water from the ocean?
That reminds me of that congressman in the US who was arguing against the existence of climate change, and he brought a snowball to Congress, and it was like, look, climate change is not real. There's a snowball right here.
He did. Wait. I just hold on. Out of character. He actually did that. Wait,
yeah,
what?
Someone actually did that in the United States Congress.
Oh my god.
I forget his name now, but that was an amazing story. So that, yeah, your question reminds me of that instance. It's just because, well, you might have just solved climate change, Akash.
Yeah, no, just the solution to climate change isn't all these conferences, isn't throwing billions of dollars into renewable energy. No, just freeze more ice, man.
For all of those wondering, no, this would not work because when the ice breaks off, it mixes with the salt water in the ocean, and therefore our sweet water reserves are diminished.
Okay, Mr. Science Guy. All right. What is your stupid question that no one asks but us?
Right. So my stupid question has to do with two conflicting expressions that just boggle my mind. Whenever I'm giving you my opinion, I'm giving you my 2 cents, right?
Right.
So why is there an expression that says that it's only a penny for your thoughts?
Ah. Okay.
Which one is it? How much are my thoughts
Right.
worth?
Right. Okay. Oh, but do they use a penny in the U.S.?
Uh, maybe.
Because isn't
Dep-
penny? I thought penny was like an English thing.
Yeah, I feel like it was just like exposing ourselves now.
What? What do you mean? No, because maybe that's like the exchange rate. It's like
Oh,
a thought equals to 2 U.S. cents and 1 Great British penny. So maybe that's like
right.
foreign exchange.
Oh, so my thoughts are oh, okay. I see.
Right?
I
I just cracked the code.
dude,
But
we've
like,
we've reached some conclusions in this podcast.
yeah. I mean, wait, so okay, so the conclusion we've reached is that your thoughts are worth 2 cents, 1 Great British penny, and probably like 1 million Zimbabwe dollars.
Yes. And climate change is solved by putting more water in the freezer. Since 2012, the Australian government has approached asylum seeker intake via the offshoring of the processes that comprise it. So, the method through which people arriving in boats are sent to another country while the processing of their intake is done. Today, the UK is taking a page from the Australian book while taking it 15 steps out of reach by not only offshoring the vetting process, but just offshoring the asylum seekers in general. And with who is the UK partnering with, of all places? Rwanda. Yes, the 1994 Rwanda genocide Rwanda. The silencing political opponents with torture and alleged assassinations Rwanda. That Rwanda is where asylum seekers are being sent, and who's paying for it? The UK is, with £120 million. And guess what? There's more. See, one of the reasons as to why this is happening, or so they say, is to fight people smuggling. Now, apparently, some Rwandan refugees will be sent to the UK under the terms of their agreement. So they're fighting people smuggling by trading people. Something along the lines of, you'll have these and I'll have some of yours. So they're playing Monopoly with people who probably have gone through trauma just getting there in the first place. So what do you make of this, Akash? What do you make of all of this? What do you make of this dumb policy?
I think the best way to describe it is the police state approach, where it's not preventative measures that they're using. It is more deterrent measures. So in a police state, the police show up after the crime is committed. They're there for punitive reasons, as punishment, right?
Yeah.
That is what the UK is doing. In essence, Boris Johnson has laid out the plan and says it, and basically tried to claim that he was doing this for the better of people. That this would be a punitive or deterrent in order to stop people from crossing the channel, which has been something of a touchy subject for the current government. They've been trying to stop that for years now, but they're saying that this deal that they've reached seemingly just works out for everyone. The government gets to see a decrease in dangerous crossings of the English Channel by migrants and asylum seekers. The Rwandan government gets paid and gets to house potentially new citizens, and these asylum seekers or refugees get a start at a new life. And it all sounds very hunky-dory. What it is actually in the agreement is that the UK is paying Rwanda to take care of its asylum seekers. That's essentially what's happening. The UK is refusing to deal with them. Even though dealing with them and like housing them or like just helping them in general would cost less per head. Even though Boris Johnson has denied that the plan lacks compassion, he has acknowledged the fact that it's going to have some legal obstacles to it, because of course it is. It's literally breaches.
Yeah, outsourcing asylum seekers that have a legitimate claim to asylum is absolutely in breach of international law. I understand the logic behind a policy like this, and if I'm honest, there's probably some potential for a policy like this. But how about making a deal with a country that actually takes care for the people it takes in, and not with a country that is renowned for its ability to ignore human rights? I don't understand how you can just play, like I said, play Monopoly with people's lives. How about, like you said, how about spending the money that, by the way, that's not even the money that they will spend getting those people halfway across the globe. So how about spending the money and actually integrating them into Britain, or creating jobs, or perhaps even dismantling those people smuggling routes that they claim to be fighting in the first place? Or just something that doesn't involve sending people halfway across the world to a country that doesn't care about them. No matter what they say, their history makes, no matter what they say, their history proves that that's not the case. In fact, the UK itself stated in January that it was concerned by continued restrictions to civil and political rights and media freedom in Rwanda. They have acknowledged that Rwanda is a dangerous place, and they just don't want to deal with the asylum seekers. That's all there is to it. There's no, oh, it's gonna be better for you and us. That's not the truth.
You know it's bad when Louis Mudge, the Central Africa director at Human Rights Watch, said that the claims that Rwanda was a safe country is, and direct quotations, is not grounded in reality. Arbitrary detention, ill treatment, and torture in official and unofficial detention facilities is commonplace. Much of this plan is still in the dark. Britain says relocation decisions will not be based on migrants' country of origin, but on whether they used illegal or dangerous routes to reach the UK from a safe country such as France. It is unclear what the actual criteria for making the decisions would be, though the British government said children would not be sent to Rwanda. So imagine this, right? Children are assured, not to be sent to Rwanda. But obviously, you can't separate parents from their children, right? If the UK do that, they'll face a backlash that the ICE department from the US did when they were found under the Trump presidency to be separating refugee children from their parents. So the UK wouldn't consider that. But what you're then promoting is that children should be sent on these dangerous routes because they're more likely to get an assured asylum place in the UK. So to me, if anything, this isn't a preventative punitive measure that will lower the amount of crossings. You're just making sure that specific people are targeted and sold the idea that they could get a place and not be deported to Rwanda, especially children. As with all our episodes, hopefully you found that mildly interesting. If you like the work that we do, keep yourself updated by following us on Twitter and Instagram, and also keeping up to date with our website. Santos has now written a few articles on a handful of topics, including the Ukrainian and Russian conflict, the Ethiopian civil war, and the French election. So I actually read all of them. The French election article was a very brilliant breakdown of both sides, sort of manifesto. So do go check it out. If you like the stuff that we do, obviously, subscribe to the channel or follow us on Spotify. But without further ado, I have been Akash Lush,
And I was Vincent.
and this was Mildly Interesting.
Mildly interesting. No, seriously, just mildly interesting.